Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. This is episode 294. My name is Carol. I am known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where it is dark and wet and gloomy this afternoon. And so I am back in the craft room trying to take advantage of the natural light from the window in front of me and the light from the big lamp in the corner, plus the overhead light. So it doesn't make for very interesting background, but hopefully it provides good lighting for this episode. How's everyone doing? I hope you've had a good couple of weeks since we last spoke. I gotta be honest, my last couple of weeks have been full of a lot of stress and worry and anxiety, and I'm afraid it took a toll on my health. I'm pretty sure all of that made me more susceptible than usual to illness, and I managed to pick up a cold last week. So you might hear it in my voice. I'm just getting over it. But no fear, all is well, always going to be well. Just in my nature to worry, especially when things are uncertain. I always say I don't do uncertainty well, and there was a lot of uncertainty happening recently, but yes, things are falling into place, and I'll talk more about that in the life chat section. In the meantime, let's talk about some yarny goodness. I have a couple of finished projects and several works in progress to share with you today. Before I do that though, let's talk about the two make-alongs that are taking place in the Ravelry group. First is a year-long chatter thread, Smash the Stash, in which we share our projects using our stashed patterns, yarn and fiber. And then there's all of the above, which is the fourth of 4 quarterly make-alongs that have been taking place this year. And this final one encompasses all of the types of projects featured in the first 3. So sweater weather was all about garments. Accessorize it, you guessed it, was all about hats, scarves, shawls, and all those wonderful things. And then Rock Your Socks took place over the 3rd quarter. So if you think you might be interested in taking part in either or both of those make-alongs, head on over to the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group and read the first post of each of the pertinent threads, and that'll tell you everything you need to know to participate. So I hope to see you there. Confession time again, I still have not caught up with Ravelry, although I'm just about all caught up on YouTube comments. This year I feel so bad. It's just been a very atypical period of time, course of events, and I just haven't been able to devote as much time and attention to the podcast and the Ravelry group as I normally like to, but hopefully that's okay with you. You guys have been very understanding, so I thank you for that. All right, first finished project I am wearing. So I filmed a little clip before I sat down, I recorded a little clip before I sat down to do this section, and I'm going to pop that in here right now. Okay, so here's my first finished project. This is Owen by Jennifer Wood of Woodhouse Knits. This is a sweater that I had wanted to knit for a long time, and I was on the hunt for the perfect yarn. I thought I found it once before and cast it on, and then wasn't satisfied with the combination, and so I put that project on hold again. But last August, as in a year ago August, I came across this yarn at my local yarn shop. It is Estelle Eco Tweed Worsted. This is comprised of 75% organic wool, it doesn't say which kind of wool, and then a 25% cellulosic viscose, which I think is a fancy way of saying all those little tweety bits in here. So there are flecks of yellow, red, and blue. And this is the color red, aptly named, and that is color number Q42406. Red is my favorite color, and this particular shade of red is my favorite shade of red. And the camera is picking up pretty well. It's maybe slightly deeper than what you're seeing there. It's a nice blue-red. So anyway, I thought this was a match made in heaven. So I bought enough yarn for the sweater. As you can see, I actually have one full skein left over and cast it on right away. But of course, as often happens, it got put aside for something else. And I finally, this past August, picked it up again and finished the body. And I believe the last time I showed it to you, I had completed one of the sleeves. And then there it sat again. And so I think it was last week, one day, kind of on a whim, I just pulled it out again, took the stitches for the other sleeve off of the waste yarn, and I ended up completing that one sleeve over the course of that day. Kind of kicking myself that it took that long to finish. On the other hand, it hasn't been cool enough to wear this yet anyway, so I'm kind of finishing it right at the right time. So the thing that attracted me to this sweater was the cables. I'm going to come in a little bit closer, and I'm going to show you the cable on the front, on the saddle shoulder, down the sleeve, and then the pièce de résistance, the cable patterns on the back. So I'm going to do that, and all my head will be out of frame, so I won't do any talking while I show it to you, and then I'll come back here and chat a little bit more. So I'm not quite sure how well you saw that. The cable pattern does kind of come around here into the front, kind of sweeps around in this triangle. So I chose the third size, which gives a finished measurement of 38.75 inches around the bust. And I haven't measured this after blocking, so I don't know if that's what it indeed did block out to. I did put some weight on between when I cast it on and when I finished it, and I was concerned it was going to be too small, but I'm actually really happy with the fit. So I'm glad I didn't go a size lower, or I don't think it would have fit quite as well. So yeah, let me just give you a little bit of a spin around here. You can see it from all the different angles. Yeah, I am pretty happy with it. I have to say the yarn is a little bit rustic, a little bit prickly, but I have put a camisole underneath this, and I am finding it comfortable to knit, or comfortable to wear, I should say. Even though I can feel a little bit of prickling, it's not too bad, and I'm pretty sensitive to itchy wools, so I think it's gonna be okay. So yeah, there it finally at last is Owen by Jennifer Wood. Okay, so what I didn't talk about was the construction of the garment. This is a top-down seamless construction, and so you do begin at the top, you do this little collar and work down from there. You can see it's kind of an interesting neckline. It's got this V-neck, but this kind of piece to it here. There's like a saddle, shoulder, cable detail, and then these sleeves, I think they call them contiguous sleeves, so you work on this as you're working down the body. So when you separate to do the body and sleeves, your sleeves are done, you know, up into the underarm area, and then you pick up from there, knit down, and you do your body from there and knit down. So there's no actual shaping as in increases and decreases along a visible line, but the cables and the patterning do provide some shaping into the garment, so it ends up a little bit of an A-line sweater. So yes, in general, pretty happy with this project and glad to have knit it at last. I think this was on my to-do list for last year and then again for this year. So I'm able to tick it off this year, and that makes me really happy. All right, another finished project. It's a month late, but that's okay. It's only a self-imposed deadline. These are my Let's Stay Home socks, which is a pattern by Nancy Wheeler from the Knit Sip Happy podcast. And this yarn is my September personal sock yarn club yarn. So beginning of the year, I put 12 skeins of sock yarn away in paper bags, labeled them with the month, and I've been opening one each month and for the most part knitting a pair of socks during that month. Then I hit a snag in September, and it took me until just a few days ago to finish September's pair, which I did not cast on until October. That's okay. This yarn is from Polka Dot Creek. It is I bought a sock set. I don't have the label in front of me. I do from my October yarn, which I'll show you in a minute. So I think it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon base. I'll confirm that in a minute. This is the birch colorway, and then the sock set came with 2 mini skeins. So this green is spruce and the brown is chocolate. So as you can see, I chose to do my heels or my toes and cuffs in the spruce and then my heels in chocolate. So let me bring this in a little bit closer. Just looking at something. Okay, I'll show you this one for now. Okay, so here I just did a 2x2 rib, and I think I had cast it on with a 2x2 rib before I really even knew what I was going to do, whether I was going to do a patterned sock or a plain sock. So I had done the 2x2 rib. I started knitting it in just plain stockinette, changed my mind, and then I found this pattern. So it's a very simple 6-row repeat, and 4 of the rows are knitting. So that's how simple it is. There's just some purl stitches and cable crosses on the other 2 rows. It is a free pattern. I believe that Nancy released this during the pandemic as sort of a morale booster for all of us, you know, doing all the sheltering in place and isolating with COVID. I chose to do, yes, I did, an eye of partridge heel on here instead of just a slip stitch heel, right? Yes. Yes, sorry, I said that and then I was second guessing myself. But no, I can see it in the light here. So yeah, an eye of partridge and then just my usual rounded toe. So what you might be able to see is what often happens on hand-dyed yarns is the speckling is definitely more intense on this sock than this sock. But it's just something I've sort of come to accept. From hand-dyed yarns, it doesn't really bother me that much. You can see they are obviously a matching pair. Now I have to tell on myself. I'm just trying to find it. Yes, right about, oh, actually I can't see it. Now give me a sec. I miscrossed a cable. And I discovered it when I was about halfway down the foot. And it had happened at the beginning of around like the ankle portion. And I decided that I was just gonna keep knitting anyway, and I wasn't gonna let it bug me. And you know what? I'm looking for it and I can't even find it. So Yeah, what does that say about it? I can't even see where it is. I was noticing it while I was knitting and kept going, should I or shouldn't I, should I or shouldn't I? And I decided not to, and honestly, as I look at these socks at the moment, I cannot even see where it happened. So yeah, that should tell us something, right? I decided I was gonna let it be like the backwards house motif on a quilt. I don't think it's a real thing. I think it's just a kind of a legend. There's a word for that, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, just a sort of a story about how I think it's supposed to be. The Amish deliberately make a mistake in their quilt with the idea that humans are not perfect, but I don't usually subscribe to that. I would much rather have my work be as perfect as possible. But this time I let it go, and like I said, I can't even tell, and I know approximately where it's wrong. So yeah, I'm not gonna sweat the small stuff right now. I just want to mention the only thing I did differently is I did cross the cables in the opposite direction on the second sock, because I do like things to be kind of symmetrical or mirror image of each other. So all right, so with that said, I have done more work on October's Personal Sock Yarn Club socks. I did show you this yarn last episode. This is the Pumpkin Patch colorway from Polka Dot Creek, which I just love. So here's the label. And yes, it is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So there's 463 yards in 100 grams of the main color. And then there are 20 grams in each of the two mini skeins. So the mini skeins that came with this colorway, oh, there's a emergency vehicle I can hear, probably gonna go past our place in a minute. This is Spice and this is Moss, and they go beautifully with this colorway. So with this pair, I did decide just to do some plain vanilla socks, because I do like to have plain vanilla socks on the needles at all times. And so decided to have a little bit of fun with the color though, and I cast on with the Spice, and I did, I think I cast on and then did 2 rows before switching up the colors, I think so. And then you can see how gorgeous it is knitting up. I love, 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 love this yarn. And the nice thing about these sock sets is that I can get 2 full pairs of socks out of 1 sock set. So actually when I weighed my yarn, I knit both of these pairs from the top down. And when I weighed my birch colorway after I had finished knitting my socks, I actually had used exactly half the yarn. I hadn't even planned that, it's just how it worked out. And what will happen is the next time I use this yarn, I'll knit a pair of socks from the toe up so that I can use every bit, and that I don't have this terrible thing of, you know, running out just a few rows before the toes. So yes, happy, 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 happy with those. And then I thought, since it's only one day left, since there's only one day left in the month, and November will be here on Friday, I thought I would go ahead and open November's yarn. I am pretty sure that in the November and December bags that I put Christmas yarn, and I'm thinking it's most likely a West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas yarn, because I've been collecting them, but I've fallen behind in knitting them. But I'm not sure which one's in here, and I'm not even positive that that's the case for both months. So we'll see. I'm just trying as quietly as possible to open this up. Ah, yes. It is indeed. I peeked. It is a West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas yarn. This is the Nutcracker colorway, which is 1166. I think this was last year's, and I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure not positive, but I'm pretty sure I picked this up in Victoria at the Beehive Wool Shop. I think that's the first place I saw it, but don't quote me. And I was looking online the other day. I was thinking about West Yorkshire Spinners and Christmas and all that, and they do have another colorway out for this year. But I can't remember what it's called, and I have not yet ordered it or anything, but I would eventually like to get my hands on a skein of it also, because I just think they're so fun. So yes, I will be casting these on quite soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish the pumpkin ones or not. Now I'm not sure. I might make myself finish the pumpkin patch socks first and then cast these on, or I might have both running concurrently. We'll see what I'm in the mood for. Sometimes it's nice to have a break between them, just to, just to give some variety. I'm very, very much a non-monogamous knitter. I think if I was completely monogamous, I'd lose interest too quickly and nothing would ever get done. So every kind of project has its place as far as I'm concerned. I did do a little bit of work this past couple weeks on my blanket of cheer. So I haven't shown this for a while. Just as a reminder, I am knitting squares that look something like this out of Fiber Nymph Dyeworks yarn. And so most of the semi-solid squares are mini skeins from the 2022 Holiday Countdown collection, and the rest are leftovers or mini skeins that I've gotten with other sock sets from her, from Lisa, the dyer of Fiber Nymph Dyeworks. And then the stripy ones, the stripy mitered squares, are from different self-striping yarns that she has dyed. Most of them leftovers, or in some cases I do take a little bit off a new skein before I knit the skein into socks. But most of them are leftovers. And then I purchased some of the plain vanilla colorway of the Bounce Base, and I'm doing these knitted garter stitch borders on them. So what I do first is I knit the two semi-solid mitered squares. I pick up along the edges, knit one self-striping, then knit the other, and then I pick up around the square and do this garter stitch border, and then they will all be seamed together. So that's one that I had done in the past. You have seen it, but I did finish up. I had several squares that I think I was so excited to see how the different self-striping was going to play with the semi-solids that I only did like one part of the self-striping. So I had like 3 mitered squares to knit up to complete these 3 squares. So that is one of them. This I think is the Mountain House Christmas colorway, I think. Mountain House Christmas or Mountain House Winter. I can't remember. I might have the label here that I can see. And then these 2 squares here were from the Wild Atlantic Wildflowers colorway, which actually my socks that I showed you last episode are sitting right there. So that's what the self-striping colorway looks like. So when I was choosing the yarns for the semi-solid part, I kind of tied them in with the colors that were in the colorway. So I have, let's see, pardon me. So I just have in this, I've kind of bundled some of these together and I'm working on them. So in this little bundle, I just have these 2 semi-solid squares to work up, and they will also be with the that Christmas colorway. I think it's Mountain House. Yeah, Mountain House Christmas. Here's the label. Now that one happens to be the Mountain Tweed BFL base. But for the, I'm using only the bounce base for all of the semi-solid parts, but I'm using Bedazzled, that's a sparkly one, Bedazzled, Bounce, and Mountain Tweed BFL for the striped sections. So once I have finished this last remaining mitered square from this bundle, I have these plus these two, which I've shown you before. That's the, it's Wine O'Clock Somewhere colorway. They all need borders. So once I've done the borders, I'll move on to the next bundle of yarns that I have set aside together. So I'm gradually working my way through. I've lost count of how many I've done, and somewhere I have a list and I know how many I'm going to do. And I'll be honest, at this moment, I don't even know what those numbers are. I haven't worked on it for quite a while. It's not been front of mind, and so it's going to be another long while before that project's finished. But that's okay. It's a great one for when I just need something relatively mindless and kind of a small project, because every time you do a little miter square, it's not, it doesn't take that long, and it's just, you have a sense of accomplishment. So sometimes when I need that type of project, I'll pull that out. Okay, I'm gonna need a sip of tea. I've been yakking without much of a break there. Still hot, so it's not, haven't been yakking too long. All right, the next work in progress is a crochet project. Now, you will have seen this for the last little while. This is the Rainbow Ripple Baby Blanket, which is a 12-pointed star designed by Celeste Young. And I have been making this out of Karen baby cakes in the Sky Gazing colorway. And that's, I think it's just a 100% acrylic yarn. No, 82% acrylic, 18% nylon. Really nice colorway. It's a baby blanket for my great nephew. However, so I had set this project aside for a while, and when I picked it back up, I was pretty sure I knew what I was doing, and I just went round and round and round, and I finished off my second cake, and I laid it out on my living room floor to get an idea of just how big it was and see how it looked. And I realized that when I picked it back up again, I goofed, and I don't know if it matters where I show it to you here. I'm not even sure where the joining point is. You come around anyway, and when you're, in order to make these chevrons, or these points, you increase on each of these tips, and then you decrease here. So you have so you can see a line of eyelets kind of running along each of those things. When I picked it back up again, I goofed when it came to the end of round, and I don't even know if I can spot it. I thought I would be able to tell. Yeah, that would be there. Actually, I think it's just even. You can actually see. Do you see how These run straight and then they take an angle. I joined it, or I somehow ended the round in the wrong place, or did something wrong. And what was happening is this side of this peak, or of this point, was getting longer, but this side was not. And so there was this whole section that was just totally cockeyed. And I knew I had to rip out back to there. And I just couldn't face the idea of ripping it all back and reworking all of it. Yeah. And so I decided to start all over again with a different project. Now, how much sense does that make? Because in the end, it's more work, but I needed a break from this. So I went looking and I found this Sand and Sea baby blanket pattern. And this is by Christine Mullen of Ambassador Crochet. And this was actually the yarn that she used for her sample is another Karen yarn. She used Karen cotton cakes. So same idea of this self-striping, color-changing yarn. And so I thought, well, it's a pattern that's designed for that type of yarn. So I've got fiber here that's making my nose itch. I thought, well, this pattern is designed for this type of yarn. It's a very, very easy pattern. It's just the same stitch all across the row. And it's very enjoyable. And so I did enlarge the pattern in order to use 3 cakes of yarn instead of 2, which is what the pattern was designed for. And here's how it's coming along so far. Now, these little blips here, that's the yarn. Oh my God, these fuzzies are driving me crazy. The yarn does have these little spots where it changes often from one color to another, but it is what it is. And you can see it doesn't change, you know, perfectly at the beginning and the end with the striping, but that's okay too. Overall, you know, it's a stripy blanket. Baby's not gonna care. It's been very enjoyable to work on. I worked out that it takes about an hour, just about an hour to do one color stripe. So I'm trying to do at least one a day. And I figure in the end there'll be somewhere around 40 stripes. And then once I have all the stripes, I will do the little border around the outside. I don't know how well it's going to show up on this black and white copy, but it does have 2 rows that you go around and do a little border. And in order to make it as pleasing to the eye as possible, I did go ahead and do a bit of color management. So at the end of my, can't remember if it was at the end of the last ball or the beginning of this one, I did wind off a portion of white so that I could join in the next color at the appropriate place, so you can't really see where one cake blends into the other. And then what I'm going to do at the end, because I worked from the outside, just as I did the first part of this blanket, I just started knitting or crocheting off of this. So I would rip it out, rip out a color, crochet it up, rip out a color, crochet it up. So then once I finish this cake, this is the second cake, so it ends with the dark blue. So I will find the appropriate spot in here to match up where the light blue ends and the dark blue begins. I'll finish off this and then it finishes with white. So I should be able to do the border around the outside in white from here and from the white I had pulled off the other cake. Hope that makes sense. doing some color management. I think it'll be lovely when it's done. And yeah, this has been a really good project for me. Quite enjoying it. And I actually will say I do like it better than the other. I don't mind the other. I chose it and I like it, but I really like this stitch. It's super easy and just very effective. Nice texture and a nice cushiness and thickness to the blanket. This is a pattern you can get for free by going to the website, or you can download it from Ravelry. I think it's for $2, which is what I chose to do, just to have an actual paper copy of it, pardon me, and to give the designer some love. So yeah, I would recommend that pattern if you're interested. So yeah, the original uses 2 cakes of yarn. I'm using all 3 that I had purchased in the first place. All right, spinning, same old, same old. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you've seen this now for a while. I am continuing to spin my Corriedale yarn from Sweet Georgia Yarns. This is the Tapestry colorway. It looks something like this. As I've mentioned before, I have purchased 3 braids. I've split each braid in 2 and then 2 again. I'm spinning the first half of each braid onto a bobbin, and then I'm going to ply all 3 bobbins together. And then I'll start all over again with the second half of each braid. So this is 2A, so that's the first half of braid 2. And that's how it looks when it's spun. So then I am now halfway through the first half of braid 3. So I'm hoping by next episode that I will have finished that and spun these 3 together. So I'll actually have some plied yarn to show you. And then I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna then do something in between just to take a break from this, or if I'll start right away and spin the second half of that fiber. Chances are I'm gonna take a little break. I do love it though. I'm not bored, because it does change color frequently and the colors are very enjoyable, very autumnal. So it would be nice to finish it up this fall. I do have a spinning advent coming from Fiber Nymph Dye Works, which I would love to spin a little bit every day during Advent this year. So I would like to sort of have my wheel freed up for that. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay. I turned the page in my notebook and saw it was time to talk about life. So I thought I would go warm up what's left of my tea. And then while I was doing that, I took some footage of the fields behind our house. So once again, large numbers of Canada geese and snow geese have congregated there. We've lived here 35 years, and last year was the first time I had seen this happen. And here they are back again. So I'm not quite sure why they've decided that these particular fields are a great place to hang out for a few days at this time of the year. But there they are, and it's it's quite something to see birds in those numbers, and it's noisy and it's confusing because they're constantly taking off and landing, but it's very cool. I was thinking though that it's kind of a reminder that climate change is real. Like, it just manifests itself in just subtle ways, doesn't it? For instance, this year, for the first time, my honeysuckle bloomed twice. First time was early in the spring, and then again late in the summer. I've not seen that happen before. So I don't know exactly what it means, but I just think it's just food for thought. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Anyway, life. So as I have mentioned recently, my husband and I are going through a transitional period. He's nearing retirement age, and so he's been giving a lot of thought to his future, which is by extension my future too. And together we've also been considering downsizing and finding a place that's a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to take care of, somewhere that we can just kind of close up and leave if we want to go away somewhere, not worry too much about it. And also downsizing would free up some money for us to travel and do other things over the last years of our life. So my husband has known for a while that he's not quite ready to retire, but he has been ready for a while to step back from his current role and do something with less stress and less responsibility. He's been a regional manager for his company for 20 years now. And the last few years have been particularly difficult. There was COVID, and then his company had put in an entirely new computer system, so there was a lot of new techie things to learn, not only learn, but to teach to others. And then there's the whole post-COVID staffing issue, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, because it seems to be universal, and it seems to cut across, industries, whether it's, at the grocery store or the restaurant or whatever else. It's hard to hire people, it's hard to keep people, and that has caused him a lot of headaches over the last several years. So he's wanted to do that for a while. It was all about the timing. And so earlier this summer, he learned that there would be another regional manager position vacated. And he decided that if they were going to look for one, they might as well look for two people to fill two roles. And so he talked to his boss and explained that he wasn't ready to retire, but he wanted to hopefully have something within his company that he could do, a lesser position that would help him just like kind of ease his way into retirement. And so it's been, a couple of months, or 3 months probably, of just waiting to see it all resolve itself. They had to carry out a hiring process, and actually what the company ended up deciding was to restructure their regions and actually create more regions and shuffle stores around to different people and hire more people. So there are more regional managers now looking after more smaller regions. And so he learned officially on Monday that there will be 2 different people taking over the management of the stores that he previously, well, he still manages them until tomorrow at closing, because that's when he will shift into his new role. So the last couple of weeks have been, there's been a lot of uncertainty because the discussion, it was wondering, he knew that they were drawing closer to reaching decision on who would replace him. And he also was then engaged in talks about what role he might fill, and obviously negotiations about salary, all of that fun stuff. And so there's been a lot of, uncertainty and anxiety. And, but as I mentioned, as of tomorrow night, he will no longer be a regional manager. He will instead be working as an inside salesperson for the store that is closest to our house. It's only 2.2 kilometers away. I think mile is 1.6 or 1.8 kilometers. I can never remember. That gives you an idea. It's not very far. So he's going to be working less hours, much shorter commute, less stressful job. I mean, he has said he'll help in the transition, in any way he can. And he will be a valuable person in that store because he can do anything. If they, if the shipper is sick, he knows how to run the shipping department or do the cashier duties. Like, he's done it all as a regional manager. So, he'll be an asset, plus years and years and years of experience in this industry, both for this company and another one prior. So he's really looking forward to the next stage. Of course, less responsibility means less money. And so there's been a lot of math going on. We know we can afford to do this. It's just a matter of, becoming very aware of exactly what you're spending. And I'm the money person in our partnership. And so been doing a lot of math and budgeting and just making sure we're all good. But it's just an adjustment. It'll be, for him, part of the adjustment is gonna be taking a lunch hour. He has always just kind of eaten as he's worked, and he's been able to set his own hours within, a degree. And he tends to go in early and work quite long hours and kind of eat as he goes. And so he's going to be forced to actually have a lunch hour, which I think is a very good thing for him. He doesn't have to go in as early. He doesn't have to work as late, unless his shift dictated that. But it's going to be good for him, but it's going to be an adjustment for sure. So you're going to have to learn to relax more and sleep in a little later, or get up and read your book before work, or all those things. So it's going to be good for him. But it's going to be interesting to see over the next while how he adjusts to it. We are going out tomorrow night to have a celebratory dinner to cap off 20 years of this position, and can't believe it's been that long. I remember when he first started, and he was gonna start day one, and I said, so what are you gonna do today? He's like, I have absolutely no idea. And that's basically been his life for 20 years, because you can have plans for the day, but then what pops up can totally throw those plans into, can totally upset those plans. So every day has been this is what I'm planning on doing, and we'll see what actually happens. And there's also been he's had a company phone and a company computer and all of that. So have to, get his own. We went and got his own phone last night, and working out how to move everything over, and just lots of different things. It's just been cleaning out his office, all these things. It's been quite a process, and trying to keep things quiet in the meantime, because they didn't want it out there until they were ready to announce these different staff changes. And so yeah, it's been, all the suspense is over now and things will settle into place. But yeah, it's been a tough couple of weeks, especially just knowing everything was coming down to that end point. On a happier note, we have company coming this weekend. So Cameron's brother and his wife are coming over Friday and leaving Monday, spending the weekend with us. And that is coinciding with our delayed Thanksgiving dinner with our family. And so we thought that would be a good time to plan all that together, so they'd have a chance to see our kids and grandkids. So everyone's coming over Saturday for a turkey dinner, and yeah, that'll be fun. And then something that's happening following weekend is one of my cousins and his wife are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and so they're having a party at their house. So we're going to that. My younger sister was their flower girl, and their wedding was probably the first big family, fancy occasion we went to. We all got new dresses, and we'd never been to a dinner and dance before. I can remember how fun that was, and doing the hokey pokey and with my another cousin and different stuff like that, right? Just good memories of that time. And yeah, their daughter was our flower girl at our wedding, so that's how things kind of happen, right? So anyway, that'll be a fun occasion. Looking forward to seeing friends and family there too. The next little while is pretty busy too, because the following weekend I am taking part in a bond Spiel with our ladies team, and I'm also on the bond Spiel committee, so got some setting up and things to do for that. And then also the week after that, we have this charity volleyball tournament that we take part in most years. So the weekends in November are busy, but all in a good way. I know November is going to fly by just as quickly as October did, I'm sure. So something we did not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that, I went to a Spinners and Weavers Guild get together. They did a workshop, and we made needle felted sheep. So there's a Christmas craft market coming up in a couple of weeks, and the Spinners and Weavers Guild will have a table at it at which members can sell their creations. And what they decided to do is have members make these little sheep to sell at it. And I have never needle felted before, but we got these, just putting my tea down. There were little forms, kind of skeletons, I guess you could call it, little sheep forms made out of pipe cleaners, and then you wrapped the wool around it and used the felting needle to felt it into place. So my first one, yeah, my second two actually looked pretty good. They looked like sheep. I forgot to take a picture of the flock, because there must have been, I'm going to guess maybe 40 to 50 sheep that we made over the course of a couple of hours. It was really fun. It was also fun to meet some more of the members and get to know some of them better. So I tend to be a solitary crafter, but I have to say that the few times I've gone to the guild get-togethers, it's been nice to meet some people and enjoy that time together crafting. So it has been a positive thing. Unfortunately, I was sick and therefore missed the monthly meeting and then get together on Saturday, but that could not be helped. All right, it is time to say goodbye for now. I'm hoping to be back again in a couple of weeks. I was looking at my episode number, so it is episode 294, and I really thought it would be cool to get to 300 by the end of the year. So the trick is, can I get in 6 more episodes between now and New Year's Eve? We shall see. I might have to just cheat a little and do some shorter weekly episodes in between now and then, instead of this every 2 weeks like I've been doing. Because I think that would be cool to be able to say at the end of the year, episode 300, but we'll see. Anyway, yes, I better go and get this thing edited and hopefully uploaded tonight or by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow I have some bit of grocery shopping I have to do and clean the house and get ready. And then I have my granddaughter and another little boy coming on Friday for me to look after. It's another professional development day. Apparently there was, I think, 3 out of the last 4 weeks. I ended up babysitting last Friday. I think my last episode I said I was going to be babysitting the next day, and then the next morning I got up and got all ready and was waiting for my daughter to drop off my granddaughter. And then it dawned on me that I had the wrong date, and it wasn't until a week later. And then actually what I ended up doing is splitting duties with my older granddaughter and going over to their house sort of later in the morning and watching her and this other little boy for a few hours. So anyway, it's definitely this Friday though. So I have that to look forward to, and then a weekend of company and just normal activities the week after, except that Cameron will be working at his new position. So that'll definitely be interesting to see how it goes, having him leave later in the morning and come home earlier at night, and maybe even come home for lunch some days because he's really close by and has that option. So yeah, be kind of cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and listening to me ramble on. I hope to see you again very soon. Keep the comments coming, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your participation and comments and support. See you again soon. And happy Halloween!